Born as a Force-sensitive being, Exar Kun was taken by the Order to begin his path as a future Jedi, being placed as a disciple of one of the most important Jedi Masters of the Order, Jedi Master Vodo. Exar Kun's potential to become a great Jedi was enormous, and in the words of his own master, Exar would soon become the best student Master Vodo had ever had. During his training period, the daily adulation that the Jedi Masters and fellow Jedi gave to Exar Kun only fueled his confidence and self-assurance to the point of becoming proud and arrogant. This complicated personality was well controlled and understood by his Master Vodo. The ambition for knowledge and power didn't wait in the life of the Jedi. Confident in his abilities, he knew that he could accelerate his learning so that he could become a powerful Jedi sooner. However, the knowledge within the Order was controlled. In the early stages of Jedi training, Padawans are deliberately shielded from exposure to potentially corrupting secrets and teachings of the dark side. This precautionary measure is intended to prevent premature access that could jeopardize the moral strength and dedication to the light side expected of those who have not yet demonstrated their unwavering commitment to the Jedi path. However, it was something that Exar Kun didn't support. He felt prepared enough to face any challenge. So, it was that on Dantooine, the planet where Exar Kun resided, frustrated with the pace of training that Master Vodo was teaching him, the Jedi entered the Master's room and studied Master Vodo's ancient Holocron. Exar Kun was amazed at the knowledge that the Holocron offered. It was here that he learned about the Great Hyperspace War, a conflict which nearly ended with the defeat of the Republic and the Jedi Order at the hands of the Dark Lord of the Sith, Nadd, an expert in Sith magic. According to the Holocron, it was this great ability with the dark side that Nadd was able to escape, following his defeat in the Great Hyperspace War and the imminent victory of the Republic and the Jedi. It's in this same Holocron that Exar Kun learns about the Dark Jedi, the rulers of what was once the beginning of the Sith Empire and the Dark Lord of the Sith, a title intended for a single Sith regent. Master Vodo indicates that the physical remains of all these rulers are protected on an unknown planet within tombs that honor those leaders. And finally, the Holocron tells one last lesson about another great Jedi, with enormous potential, who fell into the misfortune of the dark side, Freedon Nadd, a Jedi who sought power, and his ambition made him accept the dark side in search of what the Jedi denied him. Nadd wandered planet after planet to find a world he could dominate, Onderon, the planet where the Beast Wars took place. Before the Jedi could consume all of the Holocron's knowledge, Master Vodo interrupts his lessons, questioning Exar's interest in the Fallen Jedi. Exar limiting himself to a response of mere curiosity. Master Vodo knows that the curiosity can be compelling, but the knowledge that some Holocrons contain can be dangerous. Exar Kun, insistent, keeps asking about Freedon Nadd and Onderon. However, his master only tells him a few things and takes away the Holocron, originally intended only for Jedi Masters. With disgust, he feels undervalued by the Jedi Order. Despite his great physical abilities, he's overwhelmed by the limitation that his master imposes on him. Continuing his training on Dantooine, the Jedi finds himself fighting with his two companions of the Cathar species, Freedon and Silvar. Exar Kun's lightsaber skills are exceptional. Neither of his two companions is a match for him, and furthermore, the Jedi's arrogant personality makes him mock and despise his two companions, ignoring that it's only a training. Exar Kun is even capable of allocating a little of his energy to verbally offending his two companions, something that surpasses Freedon Silvar. Silvar's fury emerges in the form of a scratch on the smug Jedi's face. Fury completely filled Exar Kun. His self-control gave way to his violent instincts, attacking his partner, and with the intention of delivering the final blow, he was stopped by Master Vodo's Bas. Trying to regain his composure, Master Bas speaks to Exar Kun, reasoning about his behavior. Exar, with respect for his teacher, but maintaining his defiant attitude, accepts that he doesn't believe himself to be a better warrior than everyone, but he knows the potential of his abilities and where his ambition can take him. With a lesson to teach, Jedi Master Vodo's Bas challenges Exar Kun to a duel to prove that his high estimation of his own abilities is not just talk. However, Master Vodo's experience is no match for the apprentice. Beaten physically, and more importantly, beaten in pride, he takes another lightsaber and attacks his master, now with excessive fury. The wooden staff is no match for Exar Kun's dual lightsaber, so the student manages to defeat the master. Master Vodo's Bas, addressing Exar, tells him that he is the most prodigious student he has ever had, but he can feel a great emptiness inside him. Something is lost in his heart. However, the Jedi ignores this and leaves Dantooine, responding to the call of his ambition. Exar would arrive at the planet mentioned by the Holocron, Onderon, meeting Ulic Qel-Droma and Tatanita. He introduced himself as a Jedi archaeologist, intending to inspect the Sith and Freedon Nadd items that the Jedi had. However, Exar Kun's plans would be denied by Master Arca. Sensing the true intentions, Master Arca learns of his fascination with the dark side and reveals that he is no archaeologist. Exar Kun's characteristic personality comes to light, thanking the Jedi for their lack of help, declaring that he will begin his investigation without them, later heading to the walled city of Ossus. Upon arriving at the main city of Onderon, as he walked through the streets, Exar Kun was able to witness the violent treatment that two people were suffering from the citizens of Ossus. They were followers of Freedon Nadd. The bad treatment was because of the anti-Jedi speech that the Naddists were sharing, causing the entire city to rage. With his lightsaber, came to defend the two individuals, and curious about what they were talking about, he directed them inside his ship. Being in favor of Freedon Nadd, these two people, and after the interrogation, Exar Kun discovered that the remains of Nadd and the kings who had a link to the dark side had been transported to the moon of Onderon, Dexon, so the two Naddists direct Exar to the indicated location. The rain fell on Dexon, and in the middle of the indomitable lunar nature, the tomb, built by Master Arca, loomed imposingly. After facing various creatures, Exar Kun finds the outer layer of the tomb. The tomb is constructed of Mandalorian ore. After launching an attack against the wall, the lightsaber of Exar Kun didn't harm it. In a second attempt, the Jedi focuses his energy, and the power of his around him fills him completely, helping the Jedi to destroy the wall made of Mandalorian iron. Upon entering the tomb, Exar Kun can perceive the evil and darkness that surrounds the place. In front of him, the three sarcophagi of Freedon Nadd, Omin, and Amanoa convey something inexplicable to Exar. There was no turning back. He had already chosen to investigate the forbidden secrets of the dark side. Exar's attention falls on the physical remains of the Fallen Jedi, and from these appears the spectral essence of Freedon Nadd. With an intimidating tone, Nadd lashes out at the Jedi, questioning his intellect, since no sane man would dare desecrate the grave of a being as powerful as Freedon Nadd. Defiantly, Exar Kun confronts Nadd by denying his existence. However, Freedon knows of the Jedi's intentions and his fascination with the dark side. And seeing that he could be of use, Freedon Nadd offers him a gift. Freedon tells him that under his corpse are 2 Sith scrolls. He gives them to Exar. These scrolls were agreed on by Freedon Nadd's master, Nagasadao. The word of this Sith would guide Exar's deepest desires. Upon leaving the tomb, the 2 Naddists wait armed for Exar, threatening to shoot if he doesn't give them the treasure he had found inside. However, the Jedi can feel the dark power filling him, ending the lives of the 2 men. Appreciating what he had done, Exar Kun questioned whether something had possessed him for a few seconds, and he had acted without full awareness of his actions. He is deeply disturbed, and in these moments where darkness reigns, the memory of Master Vodo comes to his mind. However, as he boards his ship and leaves Dexon, there's relief and excitement growing in him. Back on his ship, Exar Kun investigates the Sith scrolls using a translator. Inside the scrolls, Exar can finally finish the story of the group of Dark Jedi who dominated the Sith, indicating the planet where these Jedi first had contact with them, the homeworld of the red-skinned species, Korriban. Using this knowledge, Exar Kun sets a course in the direction of the planet. The Jedi had arrived at Korriban. His curiosity about the dark side had led him to the Sith homeworld, a planet completely devastated years ago by the Republic, after the post-Great Hyperspace War counter-invasion, an event in galactic history where the Republic, after its victory in the Great Hyperspace War, took revenge for all the evil that Nagasadao and the Sith had caused, causing the purge and destruction of the Sith worlds, including Korriban. In front of Exar Kun were the remains of one of the most emblematic places of the Sith, the Valley of the Dark Lords, originally known as the Valley of the Sleeping Kings, the resting place of the greatest Sith Lords, which not even they were saved from the fury of the Republic. Without a fixed direction, he began exploring it, facing various challenges, creatures driven by the dark side, and traps intended for curious adventurers. Cornered among the threats that Korriban has for Exar Kun, the voice of Freedon Nadd speaks to Exar, telling him to take refuge in the great temple that was behind him. Inside the temple, the Jedi perceives the darkness and hatred of the place. With doubts, Exar Kun decides that he must return to his ship to think carefully about his movements. However, the entrance to the place offers a collapse, blocking any path entry or exit. Freedon Nadd's voice resounds with a mocking laugh when he sees what happened, and to the Jedi's aid, Nadd tells him that his only option is to continue entering the temple. Continuing along the path, he is amazed by the wonder of the place, and even more so by the unique object that is in front of Exar, a huge crystal. Freedon Nadd tells him that this temple is a mausoleum for vanquished enemies, and the crystal is a container that keeps the spirits of our Jedi Masters who opposed the ancient Sith and lost. With a more somber tone, Freedon Nadd, referring to the spirits of the crystal, mentions that perhaps it's time to free them. In passing, he addresses Exar, mentioning to him that it's also time to free him. It takes very little effort for Freedon Nadd to use his powers to cause a collapse inside the temple, crushing everything inside. Its architecture, the crystal with the spirits of the Jedi Masters, and Exar Kun himself, causing all of his bones to be broken. Totally immobilized and overcome by fear, the dying Fallen Jedi begs for help. Not wanting to die, he begs Freedon Nadd to save him. However, the only answer he gets from Freedon is that if he truly wants to live, Exar Kun must accept the dark side. Dying, Exar refuses that, and from his last breaths, he emanates the name of his master, Vodo. Exar Kun's anguish resonated through the Force to where Master Vodo stood, alerting Vodo to his dire circumstances. Vodo attempted to approach Exar through the Force, but instead, he encountered the spirit of Freedon Nadd, whose darkness was hostile. Freedon Nadd saw the Jedi's agony, mocking him and his inability to save himself. Isolated and helpless, Exar agrees to surrender to the dark side, and through its corrupting power, was restored. The agonized cries of Exar Kun's rebirth echo throughout the galaxy, reaching the ears of all the Jedi and his master Vodo, this being the first call of a storm that will hit the galaxy. According to Freedon Nadd's plan, the Jedi had been born again. However, Freedon Nadd knows that Exar's descent to the dark side is not yet fully complete, as he senses great doubts in the Jedi. Exar doesn't understand how the dark side had saved him. Still, Exar's stance remained ambiguous. Despite having accepted the dark side, the Jedi affirms that he will never belong to the darkness. Feeling superior and immune to the temptation of the dark side, however, there was no return, and Freedon Nadd knew it. Freedon takes Exar deeper into the dark side, telling him various passages from Sith history, with very powerful characters who were a true threat to the galaxy, including his master, Nadd. And as a final test for the Dark Jedi's total descent to the dark side, he instructs him to finish off all the creatures that stalk him inside the temple. Hatred and ambition have already consumed Exar, and Freedon Nadd is aware of it. Granting him his lightsaber, he vents all of his fury against the creatures. After this, Freedon Nadd knows that Exar is ready and gives him the new task. He must head to Yavin 4 to search for the great knowledge that Naga Sadow has left hidden on the moon. Aboard his ship, Starstorm 1, the Fallen Jedi arrives at Yavin 4, the last known location of the great Dark Lord of the Sith, Naga Sadow. The welcome to Exar Kun wouldn't be friendly, as Sith creatures resulting from Naga Sadow's Sith alchemy would be stalking the Dark Jedi. While he was familiarizing himself with the jungles of Yavin 4 and paying special attention to the destroyed temples that were found, very similar to the temples of Korriban, the voice of Nadd communicates again with Exar, offering his help, since Yavin 4 was filled with great threats. With his characteristic arrogance, Exar affirms his lack of desire to continue in contact with Freedon Nadd. Venturing deeper into the jungle, Exar found himself under attack by a group of Massassi warriors, the twisted and mutated descendants of Naga Sadow's followers, transformed into violent guardians. Despite being an skilled warrior and gifted with excellent abilities in the Force, when under the threat of Sith creatures, the Dark Jedi is unable to use the light side of the Force, a product of his own decision at the time of accepting the dark side, but in an ambiguous way. Surrounded by warriors and unable to defend himself, Exar is captured by the Massassi and taken to the Temple of Fire, and unfortunately for him, his ship is dismantled, rendering it useless, leaving Exar stranded on Yavin 4. This indecision on the part of the Jedi is witnessed by the spirit of Freedon Nadd. Despite the fact that in the Temple of Korriban, Nadd had granted him everything, unlimited power, Exar Kun continued to pretend that nothing had changed. Freedon Nadd knows that if Exar wants to leave Yavin 4 alive, he must fully accept the dark side. Inside the temple, a good fate wouldn't await Exar, being chosen as an honored guest for a sacrifice. Chained in the center of the temple, he questions his current situation, why his power had abandoned him. Exar's insatiable curiosity has brought him to this moment. However, despite his delicate situation, where he is the main element of a Sith ritual, he is neither impressed nor afraid. The goal is clear: to understand the Force at such level that he makes it possible to always choose in his favor. Chants from the Massassi elders begin the ritual, releasing impressive amounts of energy. Using the power of the dark side and the Sith amulet, the Massassi summon a mythological creature, a powerful Sith worm, a towering Sith spawn beast created by Sadow. starting the definitive test for Exar Kun. As the Dark Jedi struggled to resist the feast, Nadd's voice echoed once more, ordering him to fully embrace the dark side and preserve his life. Nadd advises him to use the amulet that the Sith Massassi have in his possession to channel his anger, since the amulet is not just a decoration, it's a weapon. In that crucial moment, the Jedi finally understands everything. The time had come to cast aside Jedi ways and surrender to his wrath. Exar channels his anger and claims the Sith amulet. Exar Kun's power is multiplied in an unreal way. The hatred and anger that he feels within him can be used as fuel, and then, through the Sith amulet, channeled to unleash unimaginable powers that the Jedi could never achieve. Gathering an immense amount of energy, Exar destroys the Sith worm and several Massassi. As the battle concluded, Nadd manifested himself once more, expressing approval of Exar Kun's new power, and he declared to Exar that it was time to begin working on Sith alchemy so that Freedon could restore his physical form. Strengthened by his new abilities, he refuses to help Nadd and is convinced to part with him, his orders, and tests. The Jedi destroys Nadd's spirit, ending what was once a great prodigy in the Force. On Yavin 4, Nadd's spirit surrenders to utter annihilation, and Exar Kun ponders the mysteries of the dark side of the Force. After eliminating Freedon Nadd from existence and proclaiming himself leader of the Sith Massassi creatures on Yavin 4, he ordered the construction of various temples that will serve as focal points of the dark side. Also based on the Sith scrolls found in Freedon Nadd's tomb, Exar has been beginning his own experiments. Prompted by a strange calling, Exar returns to the place where he had his awakening on the dark side. Appreciating the remains of the battle, he concludes that the creature was the guardian of something. Dropping into the depths of the underground, Exar finds a treasure, the spacecraft in which Nagasa Dao arrived on Yavin 4, in which houses a Sith alchemy laboratory inside. Nagasa Dao's Sith ship was the answer to Exar Kun's various problems. Now, with a ship, the Dark Jedi could leave Yavin 4 in search of his next step to his rise to power. Aware that the defeated Freedon Nadd had powerful allies on the dark side, such as Citadel and Alima, Exar decides to go in search to eliminate these potential rivals. After the acquisition of new knowledge and discoveries made on Yavin 4, the Dark Jedi heads towards Sinagar, where craft leaders, Alima and Citadel Quito, had their headquarters, the heirs to the power of Freedon Nadd. After reaching his destination, Exar is surprised by the second battle of Empress Theta, being the rescue mission by the Jedi to Ulic Qel-Droma. Without a fixed direction, Exar Kun realized that as he approached the Citadel, his Sith amulet began to radiate a strange glow, taking this as a sign to continue towards that place. The current circumstances had changed Exar Kun's initial plans. His task of ending the lives of Citadel and Alima had been modified halfway since a Jedi had done the job against Citadel, who after the latter's death assumed leadership of Krath alongside Alima. The Jedi being Ulic Qel-Droma. Upon entering the place, the Jedi finds himself face to face with Ulic and Alima. Exar quickly neutralized Alima with the Force, leaving Qel-Droma to face each other in a fierce lightsaber duel. Both Fallen Jedi are formidable warriors. Neither could gain advantage. Their lightsabers become locked in a stalemate. In the midst of the intensity of the duel, the Sith amulets they both wore began to resonate, as if the two were communicating, enveloping Ulic and Exar in an energy field. The energies of the amulets merged, forming the spirit of an ancient Sith, and not just any Sith, but one of the greatest leaders the Sith had in their entire history, the Dark Lord of the Sith, Marka Ragnos. The spectral form of Marka Ragnos orders the two to end their battle, an order which they immediately obey. Mark Arachnos, aware that they are the ones, the Sith decides to complete the fall to the dark side of both of them. Ragnos places his hand on Exar Kun's forehead and names him as the new Dark Lord of the Sith. Then, turning to Ulic Qel-Droma, Ragnos places his hand on his forehead and appoints him as Exar Kun's apprentice, demanding the two of them with the task of resurrecting the Sith and completely annihilating the Republic and the Jedi. Marked on the forehead by Mark Arachnos as a generational replacement of a new golden age of the Sith, the Dark Lord of the Sith Exar Kun and his apprentice Ulic Qel-Droma join forces, sealing a new alliance that will bring down the galaxy. Six months after the rise of a new Dark Lord and his apprentice, misfortune initiated by the dark side befell the galaxy. Throughout those few months, more than 15 battles in different systems had taken place, of which almost all had been victories for the union between Exar Kun, Ulic Qel-Droma and Nadd, only the Battle of Churva system being the only victory for the Republic. Among the different missions against the Republic, a very particular and violent military campaign stands out, the Dark Reaper campaign, where Exar Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma used a super weapon called Dark Reaper to cause devastation to different planets in the galaxy. The Dark Reaper was a terrifying Sith artifact discovered by Exar Kun in his excavations of Yavin 4. On the outside, the weapon appeared as a massive, heavily armored and armed construct, designed for the sole purpose of destruction. To make the giant machine work, it was decided to use the Force itself as fuel, and for this, the Force Harvester was built, a large rotating ball that produced a form of destructive energy field that sapped the life force of any living being that came into contact with the given area. By doing this, the weapon would create a strong form of dark side energy, and this would be used to power the Dark Reaper by producing energy beams causing massive damage. This also produced a type of death threshold around the Dark Reaper that killed anyone within its range. Exar Kun used the Dark Reaper against thousands of people, ending their lives, just as Ulic Qel-Droma used it against the inhabitants of Raxus Prime in the Battle of Raxus Prime, annihilating thousands of Republic soldiers. Both Exar Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma, despite being strong allies with the Force, having great combat skills and Sith magic, and having powerful weapons in their possession, they knew that to continue directly facing the Republic, they had to have a larger and more powerful army, despite having Ali Makito in the craft. Faced with this situation, Master and Apprentice began to solve this problem. On the one hand, during the Great Sith War, a group of nomadic warriors were in constant conflict, fighting throughout the galaxy with the main objective of maintaining honor and exalting their beliefs. The Mandalorian Crusades had been a set of military campaigns by the Mandalorians started thousands of years ago, during 7000 before Battle of Yavin, and after devastating different planets in the galaxy, the Crusades had been linked to the Great Sith War. And for Ulic Qel-Droma, this was an opportunity to seize a powerful army. On the other hand, Exar Kun's main intention was to increase the number of Force adepts in the ranks of his army, so Exar dedicated himself mainly to recruiting more Jedi. For this, without hesitation, and with the confidence that characterizes Exar, the Dark Lord of the Sith headed to Ossus. News of terrible actions by a new threat in the Republic had spread throughout the Jedi. However, they had not yet encountered that enemy, so it was easy for Exar to enter Ossus without any problem. Daring to end up in enemy territory and surrounded by many Jedi, Exar Kun claims that the teachings of the Jedi Order are outdated and that Jedi Masters limited the potential of their apprentices. All this not letting on that he had fallen to the darkness, lashing out at the Jedi for their weakness and indecision, Exar urges them all to break the chains the Order has on them and invites some of the apprentices to leave their masters and follow him. Exar Kun's seeds of doubt have an effect on some Jedi. However, there are others firm in their convictions, doubting his words. Given this, Exar Kun boasts of his incredible advances in his abilities by having opened himself to the knowledge forbidden by the Jedi, boasting of having finished off Freedon Nadd. And to finish convincing more Jedi, Exar shows tangible proof of their knowledge that everyone can gain if they accept Exar as their new master, a Sith amulet that the Dark Jedi hides its true origin, calling it a Jedi amulet. Seeing this, a few Jedi are captivated by Exar's words and promises, accepting his deal. After recruiting more Jedi to his cause, Exar, on the same planet Ossus, heads to the quarters of one of the Order's most respected Jedi Masters, Master Oda-Nur. Upon entering silently, he can hear the Jedi Master talking to someone, and fortunately for him, what is being talked about is a Sith Holocron that Oda-Nur found in his youth. Being in the presence of a Dark Lord of the Sith Holocron acted in a way never seen before by Oda-Nur. He could see that the Holocron emitted a glow as if it were calling someone. Before this, Exar Kun introduced himself and takes possession of the Holocron. Oda-Nur tried to fight Exar, but the Dark Lord overpowered the Old Master with the Force. Oda-Nur couldn't defeat Exar and died, his body vanishing as he moved on from this world. After the confrontation between Exar Kun and Oda-Nur, a group of Jedi arrived at the Jedi Master's chamber. They are surprised to see Oda-Nur's clothes on the floor, and he lies, saying that the Force had called the Master, and in his last moments of life, Oda-Nur appointed Exar Kun as guardian of the Holocron. These words were enough to convince 20 Jedi. After his successful visit to Ossus, Exar, while heading to Yavin 4, contacts his apprentice to find out the status of his mission. Qel-Droma has good news for him. He has gained command of the Mandalorians, since he earned the loyalty of that great army by defeating their leader, Mandalore the Indomitable, in combat, thus joining forces with them in craft. For Exar Kun, the next logical step was for his disciple to continue building a fleet while he focused on corrupting and training his new Jedi allies in the arts of the dark side. However, Ulic and his new ally Mandalore were already determined to attack Coruscant. Exar was frustrated by his apprentice's recklessness, since he didn't share his calculating personality and his vision of the future. But he understood that he wouldn't be able to convince him to change his plans. Exar allowed the attack to take place, but warned him that he would continue with his own plans if he failed in his mission. While Ulic attacked Coruscant, the Dark Jedi took his new apprentices to Yavin 4. After landing, some Jedi were excited to learn the secrets promised by Kun, but others had doubts about the place, since the territory gave off a dark energy, just like Exar Kun. Kun took them to the Great Temple. The suspicious Oswillam sensed that the place was filled with the dark side and tried to leave, but Kun's warriors attacked him and the other Jedi. Exar tried to calm everyone down, but Willam wasn't convinced, feeling that Exar Kun was lying to them and that he had been blinded by the dark side. To maintain his lie, the Dark Lord disarmed himself, claiming that his goal was to purify Yavin 4 so that the light side would reign there. The Jedi fell for the deception, unaware of their imminent ruin. On the steps of the temple, Exar revealed that the Holocron taken from Oda-Nur was actually a Sith Holocron, and that his main goal was to destroy it, but he needed help from all his new apprentices. So Exar had the Jedi raise their arms to block the explosion, but his real plan was to corrupt them and turn them into Sith followers. The destruction of the Sith Holocron released weak Sith remnants that took possession of the minds and bodies of the Jedi. Only Credo Exar Kun's former Jedi companion wasn't affected. He told Kratos that the corrupted Jedi absorbed the remains of the Sith, and that for Kratos, he would serve Kun in a special way. After obtaining a new entourage of corrupted Jedi, Exar Kun's plan would be initiated, ordering all his corrupt allies to go in search and hunt down their Jedi masters. Oswillum would go in search of Master Thon. The other Jedi would search his masters, and even Exar Kun would hunt down Master Vodo. This with the aim of removing the foundations of an antiquated Jedi Order and ushering in a new golden age of the Sith, led by Exar Kun. After the departure of all the Jedi, Exar is left alone on Yavin 4, and a visitor comes to ask Exar for help. Mandalore the Indomitable had come to ask for help as news of the capture of Ulic Qel-Droma following his attack on Curson had reached the Dark Lord's ears. Mandalore doubted Alima's loyalty, since she was the one who ordered the withdrawal of all Mandalorian troops at the Battle of Curson. Mandalore had sworn loyalty to Ulic after being defeated in the duel on Quar, so his honor didn't allow him to abandon his leader Qel-Droma. So he traveled to Yavin 4, knowing that Qel-Droma deserved his judgment since he had defied his orders. The Dark Lord of the Sith agrees to help his apprentice and go rescue him. Exar Kun and Mandalore soon arrived in Curson, heading to the Senate Hall, where the trial of Ulic Qel-Droma was taking place. With an unmatched presence, Exar Kun escorted a part of his army, and with Mandalore the Indomitable, interrupt the trial that the Republic was carrying out against his apprentice Ulic. Anticipating the presence of Republic guards through his master of Sith magic, Exar Kun froze the entire audience present using a Sith ability, leaving only the Jedi and the Supreme Chancellor free from this. Silence reigned as the Dark Jedi made his entrance to the Senate Hall. Qel-Droma had already taken his lightsaber to confront Exar, but Ulic stopped him. The one who showed no mercy to Exar's Massassi guards was his former training partner, Silvar. Exar had no time for the Jedi, so he ordered Ulic to keep them busy. After this, he addressed the Supreme Chancellor. He attempted to attack Exar, but he was no match. Such is the dominance of Exar Kun that while he defended himself against the Chancellor's weak attacks, loudly for the entire public to hear, he criticized and offended the Republic, its weak system, and the Jedi Order, accusing them of being indifferent to evolution and showing little ambition. The Supreme Chancellor couldn't do anything before Exar, and to finish humiliating him, Exar Kun, through the use of his Sith powers, took the Chancellor and controlled his mind and body, forcing the Supreme Leader to continue with Exar's hate speech against the Republic, but in the Chancellor's own voice. Exar dug his fingers into the back of the Supreme Chancellor's head, wounding him, then dropped him as if he were nothing and threw his lifeless body to the ground. Panic spread throughout the Senate Hall as there was no one who could defeat both Ulic and Exar Kun. However, from afar, a familiar voice called out to Exar. His former master, Master Vodo's Husk Pass, had arrived and with a clear objective, stop Exar Kun at any cost. Exar approached his former master with great calm, and with pride, he asked Vodo if he came to join him. Master Bass talks to Exar, trying to get him to leave everything and return to the light side, but this seems foolish to him. The Dark Lord brags about all of his achievements, also mentioning that without his or the Jedi's limitations, his power has increased like never before. Exar Kun invites Master Vodo to join the Sith Brotherhood as he could be a useful asset in the conquest of the galaxy. However, he refuses. Given this, the last thing that remains for him is to end the threat that is his former master. Taking his lightsaber, Exar Kun invites him to conclude their pending duel. Without wasting time, Kun violently attacks Master Vodo. Vodo's only weapon being the same wooden staff with which he defended himself in that duel on Dantooine. With control of the pace of the fight, Master Vodo tries to make Exar Kun reconsider. However, he is a lost cause. The duel is even. Both know the other's movements, and despite only defending himself with a wooden staff, Master Vodo seems to have the situation under control. However, Exar Kun reveals something else to show the Jedi Master. Taking his weapon, Exar Kun ignites an additional blade, turning it into a double-bladed lightsaber. After this, he mockingly asks his master if he likes the modifications he has made to his lightsaber. After an intense battle, Kun managed to take down his master, and fulfilling his part of the plan, he ended the life of the Great Jedi Master, Vodo Siyosk-Bas. Staring at the Jedi Master's robes as Vodo became one with the Force, Exar Kun in his mind recites the words Vodo once told him on Dantooine as a lesson. However, that was no longer important for Exar. Having saved his apprentice Ulic and finished off Jedi Master Vodo, the Fallen Jedi calmly leaves Senate Hall in the direction of his ship, escorted by Ulic and Mandalore the Indomitable. Exar Kun and Ulic over the last few months had won many battles against the Republic and the Jedi Order, capturing different systems throughout the galaxy, connecting the aspiration of a new golden age of the Sith to many planets. In his plan to revive the Sith Empire, Exar Kun had ordered different Jedi possessed by dark-side spirits to annihilate their own masters, causing a purge of Jedi Masters throughout the galaxy. After he had done his part by ending the life of his master, Vodo Siyosk-Bas, it was Oswillem's turn, where the corrupted Jedi traveled to Ambria in search of Master Thrawn. However, Oswillem would be one of the few to not succeed in his mission, as Nami Sunrider, Silvar, and Master Thrawn will defeat Oswillem. The purge of different Jedi Masters at hands of their own apprentices wreaked havoc on the balance of the Force and the light side. Lightsaber clashes where confused masters watched as their own apprentices attacked them, and in their last moments of life, the last thing they could perceive was disappointment at failing them as masters. Jedi Masters being attacked and destroyed in their dreadnought, or even being killed by the most cowardly way possible. What Exar Kun had started against his master Vodo, Exar's Acolytes had continued, ending the lives of many Jedi Masters. After the massacre of the Jedi Masters, the Jedi receives Freedon inside a temple on Yavin 4, where he reports that Oswillem and he failed in the mission to end Master Thrawn's life. Before this, Freedon prays for the forgiveness of the Dark Lord of the Sith, since it's well known that Exar Kun doesn't tolerate any failure. However, this time was the exception. He forgave Freedon and was immediately granted a mission. Ulic Qel-Droma and Exar Kun had planned an attack on the Complex 9 jump station, where they can lure much of the Republic fleet. Ulic proposed to Lima to lead the attack, and with the help of Freedon, they would be in charge of dealing a decisive blow to the Republic. Thousands of years ago, the Sith, Nagasa Dao, was able to escape the Republic alive. This thanks to a special weapon that his ship had. After finding the ship on Yavin 4, Exar Kun was able to recover this fearsome weapon, so inside the ship's control center, Exar explains to Alima how the weapon works so she can use it against Complex 9. With everything ready for the mission, Alima and Freedon leave for the jump station. The attack on Complex 9 was a success. Alima and Freedon did their part. In addition, the Jedi reinforcements that the Order had sent to prevent the attack were defeated by Alima. What was special about the weapon was its ability to tear out the central core of a star, causing destructive power capable of incinerating entire fleets of ships. After their victory, Alima and Freedon would have returned to Yavin 4. However, their plan had ended, but not Ulic and Exar's. they realized that Alima's action had started a chain reaction that also destroyed the other stars, causing an explosion on a cosmic scale, resulting in the death of Alima, who in her last seconds of life, she understood that her ambush had been discovered. Having succeeded in their plan to eliminate any threat that stood in their way, Ulic and Exar Kun decide to continue their conquest of the galaxy. The supernova caused by Alima was of incalculable size. Such was the explosion that it caused a wave of devastation that affected different nearby planets, one of them being Ossus. This was a perfect detail for Exar and Ulic's plan. The Jedi Order was evacuating the inhabitants of Ossus due to the deadly shockwave. Among the chaos, Kun and Qel-Droma took advantage of the complete distraction to enter Ossus and steal treasures from the Jedi. All the inhabitants of Ossus fear for their lives, and the mass evacuation of the planet due to the upcoming firestorm creates the perfect environment for Exar and Ulic to sneak through the skies of Ossus undetected. Exar Kun achieved his goal. After a few duels against Jedi, the Dark Lord of the Sith manages to emerge victorious, claiming his prize, countless Jedi artifacts and treasures. Seeing his spoils of war, Exar Kun knows that he has more wealth and knowledge that he can ever use. After fulfilling his objective, Exar leaves for Yavin 4, thinking that Ulic could take care of himself. The War of Exar Kun had been catastrophic for the Jedi and the Republic. Countless worlds under the protection of the Republic had fallen to the regime of the Dark Lord of the Sith, and the theft of the Jedi treasures and knowledge in Ossus by part of Exar was the most recent victory against the Jedi. However, he would never have imagined that this would be the last great victory he would have. While Exar Kun was sheltering in his lair, Yavin 4, Ulic Qel-Droma had murdered his brother Kay, causing such great regret that he would return to the light side of the Force. Ulic's redemption would be the key piece for the Jedi, since Qel-Droma would confess where the Dark Lord of the Sith was hiding. From the surface of Yavin 4, Exar Kun watches as countless Jedi and Republic ships arrive at the moon, immediately knowing that Ulic Qel-Droma had betrayed him. This didn't stop Exar, and despite understanding that the war was over and the victory wasn't possible with such a large number of Jedi surrounding him, the Fallen Jedi chose another way out: his survival. Despite having the knowledge, Exar's understanding ability to open unknown doors through Sith secrets was not entirely clear. However, Exar was willing to use the power, whatever the price. At the temple of Exar Kun, the Dark Lord of the Sith gathered his entire Sith army into the inner chambers of the place. The ritual of Exar requires a massive amount of energy, so the fuel would be from life sacrifices of the entire army. Exar Kun's goal is to detach himself from his physical body and have his spirit wander throughout the galaxy in an immortal way. Draining the life of thousands of Massassi, Exar manages to escape his physical limitation of flesh and blood, causing a huge wave of energy from the temple. However, after the invasion of the countless Jedi to Yavin 4, they joined forces to generate a wall of light of gigantic scale to contain the Dark Lord of the Sith. This combination of energies caused synergy, causing unspeakable devastation on the surface of the moon, a massive fire that quickly engulfed the jungles of Yavin 4. The all-encompassing annihilation of the place and the temple of Exar Kun reduced to rubble served as an unmistakable indicator to the Jedi that Exar had been vanquished, eradicating one of the most formidable threats the galaxy had ever faced. However, unknown to the Order, Exar Kun's ritual had yielded results, though not as the Dark Lord of the Sith had envisioned. As they departed Yavin 4, the Jedi were assured of their victory in the Sith War. Exar Kun's forces lying in ruin, the Mandalorians, Alima Keto, the crowd, all had fallen, while Ulic Qel-Droma had redeemed from the dark side. Now, the Jedi and the Republic could turn efforts towards restoring peace. Despite the passage of time and the victory of the Jedi and the Republic envying the key piece that caused the defeat of Exar Kun, the pain in Ulic Qel-Droma endured. Resentment and regret for his actions were still present, for having lost everything, his master, and having murdered his brother, but even pain and sorrow for himself, for having lost his connection with the Force and his abilities and powers. Aboard his ship called K's Dream, Ulic had traveled throughout the galaxy in search of something or someone to help him regain his powers, to give him hope of being a Jedi again. So in desperation, he returns to Yavin 4. Upon stepping onto the surface of Yavin 4 again, Ulic is shocked by all the destruction that Exar Kun's ritual had caused 2 years earlier. Not knowing what to do, Qel-Droma heads to the temple of Exar Kun, but nothing happens. Ulic had been blinded and deaf to the Force, and the only thing Ulic heard was the silence of Yavin 4. Disappointed and frustrated, Ulic descends the stairs of the temple and walks away, knowing that there was nothing for him in that place. Yet, within those crumbling walls, Exar Kun's spirit called out weakly, a mere shadow trapped. Though he felt Ulic's presence and called him through the Force, the apprentice couldn't perceive his former master's call. A cry of frustration echoed unheard inside the temple as the footsteps of Ulic Qel-Droma left the place, leaving Exar Kun hopeless and turning those hopes into bitter ashes, when solitude closed again, eternal and inescapable.